Hi, this is Angela Cox, and I am going to show you how to cut out your bunny. Before you begin, you want to make sure that you have your bunny pattern, some fabric scissors, some paper scissors, and then you need some pins, right? So, to begin, the first thing that I need to do is I need to cut out my bunny, right? So, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut this bunny out of the pattern with paper scissors. And if you notice right here, do you see these little notches? This is where we're going to make sure that we leave a hole in the bunny, right? So when we do our stitches, we'll leave that open. So I'm just going to take my bunny pattern and I'm going to cut it out on a solid black line, right? And if my copy went over to the side here, like right there, it kind of cut off, I'm just going to go around and connect those two. Sometimes the copier doesn't do a fantastic job. I'm going to cut out my pattern just like this, all the way around on the black line. Alright, now you can see my bunny's all cut out and I have this little bit of paper here. If you are going to be at home, you want to make sure to keep some of this paper so that you can store your pins and needles on it. Right, so I'm just going to keep that little bit because Miss Cox gave you some pins and some needles and you don't want to lose them. So keep just a little bit of your paper so that when you're done with your pins and needles, you can store them over here so they don't get lost because you're going to need those pins and needles again, right? So what I'm going to do, and you can see when I cut out my bunny, it was not perfect. It does not need to be perfect. It just needs to be the general shape of a bunny, right? So now I have my fabric, and you'll notice that Miss Cox gave you enough fabric so that you can have two bunnies, right? She either gave you two pieces of fabric or she gave you one piece of fabric that can be folded over so that it makes two layers, right? So you're going to want both of those pieces of fabric. People who make patterns are super lazy. They don't want to have to cut two bunnies if they can get away with cutting only one bunny, right? So we're going to just make sure that our fabric is lined up here, and then I am going to place my bunny on the middle of the fabric here. Now, do you see how I have some extra on the top or on the bottom? It's always a good idea to try to minimize that because this bottom part, maybe I could do something with it, right? I might want to make a little pillow for my bunny or a little blanket or something like that. So I'm not going to put it right up against the edge, but I'm not going to put it right in the middle either because I can use this fabric for something else. So I'm going to put my bunny right here, right? Now, I need to pin my bunny down, right? So, to pin my bunny down, I'm going to start on the top and on the bottom, right? I'm going to start up here with the ears. And when I pin it, I'm going to use these straight pins. The goal of pinning my bunny is I don't want the pattern to move when I am cutting it out. So take my little bun and I'm going to stab him through the ear. Sounds kind of mean, but it doesn't hurt, I promise. Until I can see the pin coming out on this side. Right? So I see my pin. Then I want to push the edge of my pin back up through the pattern. Right? So I can see the top and the bottom of the pin. Right? I'm going to do the same thing to the other ear. Stab it all the way through, making sure I can see it on the other side. And then I am going to flip it, push it up. On the front, you should see the top and the bottom of the pin. And I can, if I look on the back, I can see where the pins went, right? The pointy edge of the pin should always be towards the middle because I'm going to be cutting around out here and I don't want to snag my hand or my finger on a pin. Now I'm going to do the bottom, right? So I'm going to start right down here on this leg. And again, I'm going to poke all the way down, like that. See it on the flip side? And then all the way back through, right there. And I might have to move my pattern a little bit. There we go. Make sure it lays flat. And I'm going to do it again on the other side. All the way down, and all the way back through, just like that. And then check and make sure that you got it through both of the layers of the fabric, right? And then I'm going to do the arms, because I don't want the arms to move either. All the way down, all the way back through, right? Just like that. And then on this side, all the way down, and all the way back through, right? Now, do you see how my fabric, when I pinned it, has shifted a little bit, right? So if I look here, I have my 2 layers of the fabric, and it's kind of gotten right up against there. You want to be careful that you have both, that you have enough that you're getting through both of the layers of the fabric, right? And I think I do. Right now, you're just going to take the edges, and anywhere that it might move, that's where you want to put a pin. Do you see how this little cheek is moving a little bit? So I'm going to put a pin right here. Right? And I'm going to do a pin right there. Oops. There. And then I'm going to put one here too. Then one right here. And hopefully after this, my bunny will be secure. Okay? Now, at this point, you should get someone to check your bunny and make sure that it's pinned on right. It's pinned through both layers of the fabric. If you're joining us from class, you should turn on your camera and say, "Hey, Miss Cox, will you look at my bunny and make sure that it is pinned?" Because anything that you do wrong with this bunny, we can fix, right? Except for one thing. If you cut it out incorrectly, then we can't fix that, right? You'll have to sew it up and it will never look like a bunny that hasn't been sewed up. So you want to make sure that it's pinned correctly so when you cut it, it will be cut out correctly. So once you have it pinned, you're going to stop and have an adult check it. Okay, so we had Miss Cox check it, and now we're ready to cut, right? So when we cut, we are not going to cut right up against this pattern. We're going to cut out a little bit to the side. We're going to leave what's called a seam allowance, right? And we are going to take our fabric scissors, and we are going to cut just outside that edge, right? And you notice this comes right up against there. Don't worry, we can fix that later, right? Cut this extra off. And see this? Miss Cox can use this for something else, right? So I'm going to save that. Again, I'm going to try not to go right up against it, because we can always remove fabric, but we can never add fabric to something that's already been cut. Okay, and this edge is kind of tricky, so I'm going to go really slowly and really carefully as I cut. This looks rough, that's okay, I can trim it up later. Right? Again, we come around here. Just going to cut off these edges. Right? Then we get to our little cheek, so I want to be careful not to cut too much. I'm actually going to go on this side and cut it that way. Because I can always cut extra fabric, but what I can't do is add fabric once I've removed it. I'm going to come here. Come around to this side, just like that. Come up here. Cut out my button. Cut out, right? It's all cut out. So now I want to take a look at them. I'm going to remove these pins. Make sure you put your pins back so you can find them, right? Remember, because you're going to need them again. So make sure you put your pins back where you can find them. I'm going to put mine in this pin cushion. Remember, we saved a little bit of the bunny paper so that you can put them there. You never want to leave pins just laying around, especially if you have pets, or if you have brothers or sisters, younger brothers or sisters, or even if you just like to go barefoot in your room, because you do not want to step on a pin. That would hurt, right? So I have my bunny here, and you can save this and make more bunnies with it if you want, right? And I just want to make sure that I have them all cut out, and that he's gone on both sides, right? And I can kind of see how my arm on this side looks one way, and on this side doesn't look quite the same. I'm just going to take a couple little snips, and I'm going to trim this because I didn't do a very good job right here, right? Snip right here, just to make him look a little bit even, right? And it's okay if it doesn't look perfect. Sometimes they're kind of cute if they don't look perfect. And I think this side, I might want to trim a little here. And remember, you can always trim more, but you can never trim less. So be careful when you're trimming, right? So now I have them all trimmed up, and here's my bunny, all cut out and ready to use.